The Newcomer, page 71. Let go, Lenny shouted, prying her arm free. Would you just sit down and rim? She took a cigarette from the crumpled box and held it between her fingers in the way she'd seen the actresses demonstrate on school propaganda films, then placed the cigarette between her lips to mock, exhale, or drag from it. Haven't you ever wondered what all the fuss is about? She asked, pulling the cigarette from her lips. Diana crouched behind her, watching the door for the people who she knew were coming for them. No, Lenise, she said with disgust when she saw what her friend was up to. I have never wondered what the fuss is about. She left Lenise sitting there and walked over to the back door. Haven't you ever wondered what the death penalty for smoking is all about? She opened the door and peeked out. Close that door, Lenise ordered, placing a hardly one-lit match to the end of the cigarette she had clenched between her teeth. Now you've gone too far, Diana said, letting the door close and walking back to Diana. I could have you hung for that. You'd have to prove it first, Lenise said, exhaling her first drag, as if she'd been smoking all her life. Who do you think they'd believe? She asked, fanning the smoke from her face. A socialite's daughter or a queen's daughter? There you go again, pulling rank. Resigning herself to her friend's activities, she sat down next to Lenise, acting as a lookout. Diana, Lenise said, smoke escaping her mouth while she switched on the ashtray that didn't work. We're about to seal our day together. She handed a cigarette to Diana. Diana looked at the cigarette, then at the face of the person who offered it. No way, she announced, pushing the hand away. Look, Lenise said, offering again. We've already chanced death by sneaking into the commons. This, she said, enunciating her statement by flicking an ash Diana's way, will keep us both silent. Diana knew that Lenise's mind was set and that no amount of arguing would make a difference. She took the cigarette, puffed on the noxious weed, then handed it back. Exhale, Lenise yelled, watching the girl's wide eyes fill with water. Diana choked out a cloud and went into a coughing fit. After recovering, she playfully pushed Lenise from making fun of her and sat quiet for a moment, willing the room to stop spinning. How do you feel? Diana asked when her request to make the room stop spinning didn't work. I feel lightheaded and dizzy, Lenise said, then smiled, like I do after an orgasm. I feel sick, Diana said, before running to the corner of the room to regurgitate. While Diana relieved herself, Lenise stubbed out her cigarette and scooped up all the paraphernalia and the cigarettes to hide them in her purse. She got up and went over to her friend, who was steadying herself against the wall. Are you okay? She asked. When she saw the nod, she said, You really are weak, aren't you? And Diana slapped her on the shoulder. Thanks for your concern. Can we leave now, since we've satisfied your sadistic lust? In order to avoid the area where the contraband should be, Lenise helped the wobbly Diana out the door in which they'd entered. Because Diana was out of sorts, she didn't let on that she knew that Lenise had taken the stash. They returned to the castle undetected in an ingenious escape beneath the commoner's carriage. Though they often reminisced to each other about the common's adventure, the topic of cigarettes was never brought up. Lenise stubbed out her cigarette in that same ashtray and closed the drawer. It was Fedora whom they had counted that day, and it was Fedora whom Lenise sought out on her own a month later, and it was Fedora who supplied Lenise with cigarettes ever since. 73. Oops. October 17th, 1987. I can't tell you how many dreams I've had as a teenager that involved me being stranded on a deserted island populated entirely by gorgeous, lust-filled women. Being the only male, I would be honored to perform for them all. But let me tell you, that island's natives were young, beautiful women with healthy sex drives, and most importantly, it would be my idea for being there. What's going on here isn't like that deserted island. To put it poetically, I believe that I'm paying for the sins of men. Cheryl, Terry's third shift monitor matrix, pushed on a soft alarm to disturb the charge's sleeping. It was a time that the toilet matrix would normally come, and since this was the first night he had ever been on his own, his mind and body needed to be trained. When Terry gained control, the alarm system would no longer be used. The distant beeping brought him to a semi-conscious state. As he rolled over, he felt his full bladder. Knowing that the toilet matrix would be there shortly, he began to drift back to sleep, then snapped back awake when he felt the futon beneath him. "What is wrong with safe and floor?" he asked, sitting up, rubbing his eyes. Yesterday's events played through his mind as his eyes focused in on temp room. His full bladder loudly announced its discontent, so he got up and stumbled over to his toilet. When he reached for himself, a barrier of clothing met his hand instead of his skin. Remembering what it was, he squirmed out of it. As was becoming usual, his penis was erect. This momentarily bothered him, then it delighted him. When struggling to position himself brought pleasure, he didn't become embarrassed like he used to, for he remembered his conversation with my matrix. After he was through and had tossed the toilet in his cycle can, he went back to his bed. Outside the picture window, he saw that it was still dark. Childlike abandonment and apprehension didn't accompany him in these early morning hours, for he had my matrix in this maid temp room and his new status a wild adventure. His mind filled with thoughts of my matrix, her full lips, her round breasts, and her twinkling ankle bracelets. When her scent of her hair permeated his room, it brought a tingling to his penis. He lay there naked, enjoying the sensation of his growing penis with confidence, pride, and curiosity. Because he knew why he'd been issued clothing, the absence of it intensified his erection, making his breathing shallow and urgent. Remembering what my matrix had said about masturbation, he accepted his arousal, reaching for himself to gently squeeze the strength that had greeted him. His action made him moan with the relief that it brought. Allowing his fist to move up then drop, his penis brought even greater pleasure, so he repeated the procedure. This time he didn't let go, but stroked just steadily. The word ejaculation entered his mind. He wanted to see the ejaculation instead of waking up with its aftermath. His breathing quickened along with his hand as he thought about lying with my matrix. He wondered what a bare breast would look like and how it would feel inside of her vagina. Moisture spilled from the head of his penis, lubricating the hot friction he felt on his skin. Then it happened. Splintering stars of light burst through his window and beyond as his body exploded and spewed his release. The monitor matrix sat entranced before Terry's screen. As soon as the masturbation process began, she recorded the time, 4:15 a.m., then pressed both Dr. Diana's and Queen Lanice's intercoms. Dr. Diana's voice was heard first. "Yes, Cheryl," she croaked. "The masturbation process of the charge Terry has begun," was Cheryl's clinical reply. "Your monitor has been activated." Then came Lanice's voice. "What is it?" she demanded. "The masturbation process of the charge Terry has begun," Cheryl repeated. "Of course it's the charge Terry," Lanice quipped. "Do I have another?" Cheryl was used to the Queen's quips. Remaining professional, she informed her that her monitor had been activated. Lanice sat up and pushed a button on her wall remote. The panel across from her bed opened to reveal a large viewing screen. The process had indeed just begun. "Cheryl is so stuffy," she said aloud while lighting a cigarette, "but I'm grateful that she's punctual." She sat back and relaxed with a shell. Dr. Diana studied her monitors, entering notes. Terry wasn't the only charge under her care who was active this morning. "Why do they always come in threes?" she asked, then groaned at her tasteless pun. "It's going to be a busy day at the office," she said, then buzzed her assistant. Since the Queen and the doctor had been alerted, Cheryl could relax.